We're going to start the show with a bit of world news, but it encompasses the sports world as well. Brittany Griner was released after serving almost 300 days in Russia.
Like 10 months.
10 months. And some people are really ecstatic and happy by it, and you get others that don't understand why, because who was released from U.S. custody. What are your guys' thoughts on that and how you guys feel about that?
Go ahead, Plex.
Well, for myself, man, I'm going to stay away from the political side of it because I think that's a never-ending argument that we can have and the people in the media can have on television. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the whole situation with WNBA players, Brittany Griner, and the reason why they play overseas. The WNBA salary for these women is the average salary is $130,000 a year. And so you are looking at these players and asking yourself why does Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner, why do these young women choose to go overseas to play basketball? Because you look at a Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi, they're making $1.5 million playing overseas. And they don't make that in the United States playing basketball because we're all guilty of it. We love the sport of basketball, but I don't think we've highlighted enough of what women's basketball should be. And Brittany Griner's situation has heightened it to the point to where, well, why can't she make that money over here playing in the United States? And, you can't pay the players when there's no revenue, meaning that we're all guilty of it because we don't attend in WNBA games and the women are not able to make that money because us being as fans, the WNBA will never be the NBA because I'm guilty of just because of it being a female sport. And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day just saying I'm guilty of it because my daughter is a basketball phenom. She's 13 years old, and I have yet to take her to the WNBA basketball game, but I've taken her to see the Knicks, the Nets. But it didn't dawn on me to take her to a WNBA basketball game, even the sport that she loves to play, and kind of being biased because it's female. And it kind of put me it kind of made me think about the whole situation with Brittany Griner and why they go overseas to play basketball is because guys like myself and the fan base, we really don't support them in the way that they should be supported and the sport that they play. But also on the flip side of it, everything that she has been through over the last 9 months, I think a lot of, like TJ said, a lot of people are happy that she's home. Some people are not. And, she's a cultural icon. She's arguably one of the greatest female basketball players of all time. But, I just hope moving forward that we get out and support these young women, doing what they love in America. And I don't see how any American female or woman would travel overseas in Russia or any country to play basketball in the offseason based off what happened to her.
That's to me. That's a super big point, right? Is if this is what happens when American citizens go over there, and American citizens of note, celebrities, superstars, if they're going over there and they're being used as pawns, as pieces to leverage what just happened, then there has to be a serious rethinking of rules of engagement in terms of international travel. Now, let's not make it a situation where she didn't do something incorrect that led to that. She should have been tight. Like, she should have been tightened up. Don't be walking into the airport with any type of contraband, any type of anything that would lead to them having any type of leverage, because it was a conviction. She was convicted of doing something wrong. And whether we want to, I mean, we do this here, right? We say somebody didn't get the penalty that was deserving of what the infraction was. We do that here in America with people, let alone it happening in a foreign land. She got 10 years, I believe they gave her for having a weed pen, I believe, at the airport. I could be incorrect on.
It's also been described as medical marijuana that was prescribed to her.
I don't give a damn if it was prescribed.
But what is legal in the United States is not legal in other countries.
And that's that. So my whole thing is, you don't get to say, well, this is what it is when I'm like, no.
Did she get it in Russia or did she get it in America?
Well, that's a good. Well, that would be a good question as well.
It was a prescription from the United States, and she went to Russia with it, and that's not legal there.
All I know.
So she got in the country with
it. And that's a possibility, because they might have not have checked their bags coming in. They might have checked them going out. And I think it was on her person, like when she was leaving. Like it was they got her going through security, if I recall the reports correctly. My whole thing is, sometimes it is what it is. And this could have been one of those situations where she's Brittany Griner. I got my weed pen. I do have a prescription. So those two things put together, there should be no problem. But you can't think that way, because the world is a dangerous place. You got to be tight with what you do. And there should have been no reason for her to have given them an opportunity to do what they did to her. That's first and foremost. My outrage would be much higher if I could clearly see that something was handled incorrectly with Brittany Griner in that situation. But I want to take it a step further, guys, and kind of look at it from the standpoint of, if this indeed went down the way that everybody is making it seem to be, where you get Victor Bout, who is also known as the Merchant of Death. They made the movie. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard of it by now and heard the story based upon the Brittany reports. But they made the movie Lord of War, and that was, an interesting movie about a guy who was selling arms around the world. Like the dude earned the nickname Merchant of Death. I wonder now, with what you just said, Plex, in terms of how does this look for our American citizens, our American citizens of stature, and not to mention military, right? You throw military in there. Like, I know it's come up that there was the idea that a former a U.S. Marine, that's in custody there,
Paul
Whalen, right? That they had the opportunity to swap him out. Well, my whole thing is, first of all, the whole swapping thing is pretty interesting to me, right? Because if you can swap out the Merchant of Death from America, there's not going to be very many people that outside of like some really, really hard and harsh categories of law breaking that actually have done worse than what the Merchant of Death has done in American jails that are Americans. Like, so you open up all kinds of different conversations about what the rules represent, when they apply, when they don't apply. I mean, there's the whole Black Lives Matter conversation. There's all kinds of how many people are incarcerated over weed, versus crack versus cocaine. And there's all these conversations, let alone, and let's be real here, Plex. You lost years off of your life based off of one little firearm, off of one firearm.
Harms yourself, nobody else.
One firearm. And she did less time than you and was brought home and what would seem to be a scenario where someone who has dealt out a whole lot of death, a whole lot of arms, gets to walk away free when we know that a guy like that should never be allowed to walk free. So to me, I feel like it's hard to stay away from the political minutia of it in this scenario, because it's leveraging what we love the most pure thing that we have is our ability to come together and compete in athletics and sports. It has now been thrown into the arena of politics because of so many different issues that it raises as to how this happened, how it unfolded, why it unfolded, who was involved with it that took place. It's a much larger conversation than this segment, but man, it has opened up for me personally. It opened up a lot of conversations, because it shouldn't be an either or. It shouldn't be, okay, do you free Waylon or do you free Brittany Griner? Man, you free both of them. And if there's somebody else, you get that person out of there, depending on what the circumstances are as well. But it also makes me look at the fact that, okay, if you're going after these people and trying to free them from what they have going on, and I look at Brittany Griner's situation, why are you not taking that same exact look at people that are here? Why does that not open up the conversation for there are a lot of people that are sitting down that are incarcerated in American institutions
But
that fall under the line that's less than what's going on right now?
We know Brittany Griner was released because of who she is, and a lot of what Plex said is correct. Like, I don't follow the WNBA, but I'm starting to follow it now. I have a college teammate named Darnell Robinson. His daughter is named Jersey Robinson. She's a freshman in high school in Arizona. She's going to probably be the number one basketball recruit in the country. And so I really pay attention to the WNBA now. I'll watch the playoffs. I'll watch the games, because when I watch South Carolina play now with Don Staley, I want to see them succeed. So I watch the game. I have daughters. I don't have a daughter that plays the game, so I'm invested in it because of my teammate and his daughter, and I want to see the game elevate so that when she gets to that level, it's better for her. And I read a ton. So I'm not a politician, but I've read about Victor Bout and him being called the merchant of death and things of that nature, and supplying all these illegal weapons to countries and making millions upon millions of dollars and being responsible for thousands and thousands of lives being ended. And a lot of people will say, oh, man, that's not right, that Brittany Griner, for what she did, can be released for somebody that had a 25-year sentence, served 11 years, and she just had that? Like, where is Paul Whelan, who served his country? Why can't he be released? His family said all the right things, but I know they were disappointed. And so what LaVar is going with it, like, if we're going to do that, why not the people that are in this country that have committed crimes that are similar, minor drug offense, why can't they be released? Mm-hmm. Brittany Griner has a name, and that's what's going to happen. And again, we are not politicians. We have opinions. I'm with the people that are like, why did this happen? But I'm also very happy for Brittany Griner, her loved ones, her friends, and her family, because she's home. Don't rain on somebody's parade because you didn't get what you wanted. She's home. She made a mistake. I'm sure because of what happened to her, I don't see very many people from the States now going overseas, especially to Russia, to play basketball, because they will be used as bargaining chips, as political pawns. I wish her the best. I hope she enjoys her time with her family, because the holiday season upon us. But it's a tough situation, man. You can't please everybody. Again, I'm happy for Brittany Griner to be out of that. You never want to be in jail, period, let alone in another country. So the United States, they did what they could. But I know there are some people, especially military people, like, really, Victor Bout? He's responsible for thousands of people dying. That's my 2 cents on. I know this isn't a political show, but if we're going to talk Brittany Griner, I believe sometimes you have to get into that.
That's right. That's right.